Gangbanging in Chicago is as American as apple pie. But we all know the biggest gang in Chicago is the CPD. You want to talk about a criminal organization. But what happens when a wrongful conviction, when an individual is found not guilty and they try to destroy his business? Well, today, I'm trying to figure out who tried to kill Harvey Vickers. So let's go on up there. Today we're gonna meet with Steve. And what they try to do is destroy this man's life. He was charged with a few felonies. And he was found not guilty. How you doing today, Steve?
Hey, how you doing, Joe?
All right. So we want to share his story a little bit about the corruption in Chicago and how a city and one man and a multitude of men can try to destroy another man's life. Steve, what happened recently to you here at Harvard?
Well, a couple things. I ran into a guy who was dressed as a police officer, said he needed a place in the city, so he needed an apartment here, but he needed parking. So I said, you gotta go see the alderman. Sent him over there. Alderman's office called, said we got him some parking, and I rent to him. During the lease period, took about a year, find out he's no longer a police officer, he's been fired, because he's a junkie. He's an intravenous methamphetamine addict, and he's acting real crazy. My security's upset, my bartenders are getting threatened, he's trying to recruit people to sell drugs in my establishment. And just so you know, I don't believe in any drugs. I don't even like marijuana being legal. There's liquor, and that's it. So, over time, this guy, he starts to threaten me more and more. Starts stalking my wife, and I barely make it through the lease. And a week before the lease is up, I say, hey, Sigmund, you know, we're not gonna be friends, but we made it through the lease together, you gotta go. He lurches over me because he's about 6'2", and he says, F you, I'm gonna stay as long as I want, there's nothing you can do about it. Because my family and we're connected, I can do whatever I want. I said, uh-oh, this is a problem. I guess I'll have to get a lawyer. So, which I did, like every victim landlord here, when you have an adult male decides he wants a squat, there's nothing you can do about it. And that's the state of Illinois supporting squatters, okay? So over time, this guy starts following my wife and kid as she dropped them off at grade school, the Catholic school, and following her to the gym. And he starts texting me, text after text. Ask your wife how she likes my junk. Hey, I'm gonna do this to her. I'm gonna end you. I'm gonna kill you. Then I'm gonna go rape your wife. And I'm like, hey, I need help. So in May, I go over to the police department. I file an assault report. I say, this guy came to my job. He drove to my job. He knew where I worked. Not here. I'm a construction guy. I'm a carpenter. And he stepped on my foot and leaned over me and said, let's go right now. I said, hey, I need help. It's one of your guys. He got fired. He's on a do not hire list. I think he's a methamphetamine addict. There's needles all over. Drug dealers going in and out. He's dealing drugs. What am I gonna do? The next day after I filed the report, he put his finger right up to my eye and said, that's going nowhere. Once a cop, always a cop. I am a CI and my daughter's over there at the 12th district. You're not going nowhere with that. Complain.
And you showed him you actually showed him. See, now if I send a text to somebody, if I threaten somebody, me being a convicted felon, I'll catch a case for that. So right there, they were wrong. They should have corrected.
I went to the alderman's office, said I need a meeting with the commander. His father was a commander. That's why they let him get away with it. The old timers protect him. I said, you need to get the family and some drug intervention people. He needs help. He's a sociopath. And I've never met one before till this guy, Sigmund Nasty. And I said, hey, you know, I don't want no trouble with you. I got a family. He's stalking them. My wife's, he's looking at him, monkey facing my wife at the gym. She don't want to leave the house. We turned into, for 2 years, we were shut-ins because of this guy. I couldn't come to my building because he put an order of protection after we had an incident. The guy flooded out this bar 3 times. He got high, shot his drugs, and took the plumbing off the kitchen sink and flooded the whole building. The apartments upstairs, the whole bar. Shorted out the electric. I had to repair the whole building because of this guy. And there's nothing you can do about it. When you got a squatter, you're a victim, and the police will do nothing. Okay, that's the problem now. There's the state's attorney do nothing. Okay, just so you know, when you call the police, they gotta wait for a state's attorney to do a review to see if they're gonna do something. And short of murder, they're not doing anything in Chicago. All the good cops are leaving because they go, our hands are tied. All the bad cops are staying because this guy goes and bird dogs. He told me, I go find drugs as a CI. I didn't know what a CI was. He said, oh, I'm a confidential informant, but unofficial. That's why I got the burner phones. He changed his phone 4 times while he lived here, 5 times actually. And I had to get a new number because he says, oh, I can't have any record of who I talk to and what I talk about. And I'm like, okay, that's scary. And this is a guy that I had to suffer habitation in my building for almost 2 years.
So ultimately there was an incident where you two had some words, he threatened you.
So after he stalked my wife, telling me he's gonna kill me, telling me he's gonna violate my wife, I called the camera company. We got cameras all over. I put cameras in the hallways because he told me, you're gonna die of the blue flu, they'll find you floating in the effing river. So I was like, hey, you gotta get some cameras up there. On the cameras, I'm in the apartment repairing the hardwood floors that when he flooded the building out, all erupted. I had to tear them all out. I'm fixing the apartment so I can get it re-rented. He gets in the doorway. He says, I told you if I catch you alone, you're a dead man, okay? My heart's going 220. I got my tool bags, and this guy's like, I got something in his shorts, I'm gonna kill you. I left down these stairs, the door open, so I could run out because he had that door nailed shut and barricaded that's in the back for the apartments. No witnesses, nothing. And this guy said that's what he does. So we wrestled. I pinned him down, put my hand on his chest, said, don't ever threaten to kill me, then go rape my wife, go violate my wife. I said, I put my hand on the chest. I said, don't ever threaten to kill me and violate my wife, because that is assault. You did it again. You've assaulted me 5 times already. And then I let him up. I said, you want to go outside? We'll fight like men. Oh, gets on his cell phone, starts texting his wife, Justine, or ex-wife. They were married and divorced a couple of them. Oh, you took the bait now. That's what he said. I drew the foul. I'm going to see you in both courts, civil and criminal.
That's what he was looking for.
And that's what he was looking for. He filed an insurance claim the next day.
And then what happened a few days later when they actually charged you with the crime? What did you get charged with?
I got charged with 11 counts of assault with a weapon. They said I took my hammer and a skill saw and worked this guy over. Now, just so you know, I'm a carpenter, okay? I'm a Catholic, all right? I take that serious. My tools are sacred to me. Only a sociopath would think that that's a weapon, okay? A sick puppy. This guy told them I worked his face over. Then, a week after this incident, when we just wrestled, they call me to go downtown to 51st and Wentworth at Battery Court. I'm like, for what? And they say, oh, you hit him in the back of the head with a saw, and you broke his cheekbone and his face and his nose with a hammer and put the forks of the hammer up his nose. Absolutely ridiculous. I thought, this is a joke, right? This isn't serious. Oh, this is really serious. I call a lawyer, I go turn myself in. Because none of that happened, I thought, this will be no problem. So as I'm there, the detective's interviewing me. He's like, so, where's the hammer? So, where's the saw? I said, well, I didn't have a saw on the job. I had my tool bag, and he had a hammer. I didn't have a hammer. Whatever. You want to make a statement? I said, no, I was a former CPD. I know how it works with you guys. He's been covered all the times they made complaints at the precinct with the alderman. Nobody does anything. He bragged to me that his ex-wife, she's an ombudsman for Legal Assistance Foundation, covers all his cases, buries them, seals them, and nothing's gonna happen, which proved to be true. Okay? So then all of a sudden, I'm going to court, standing up there in front of a bond judge who tells me, oh, well, now the charge is you choked him and you punched him once. Because my wife provided them video footage to show it was a complete lie. He filled out police reports falsely at both the county, the city of Chicago. The detective knew that it was a lie.
And at first they tried to charge you with 11 assault.
11
aggravated
counts.
assault.
They
11
said
counts
I
of
beat him
aggravated.
up with a hammer, which would never. Come on, who would survive that?
Yeah.
And this guy, he's like I said, he shoots methamphetamine, and he gets crazy. And I just tried to get him out of my building, but because of the state of Illinois and the way they got the laws, they treat everybody like it's a single mom who can't pay the rent with 5 babies. Which I would probably buy him Christmas toys and help her out as best I could.
would.
But these are grown men, okay? These are grown men taking advantage of the system, and the police cannot do anything. So anyway, moving forward, after this whole incident happens, I go to bond court. I'm stuck in Cook County Jail for 2 days.
No I bond. No record.
No.
They ain't getting no I bond.
As my wife's sitting in bond court for 2 days watching all these guys, guns, drugs, murder, attempted murder, assault, battery, all I bonding out. I get up there, it's 5 p.m., day 2. And it was funny because the guy in the stairway, I'm wearing a white collared shirt. I put a shirt and tie on when I went to court. You know, I wanted to dress, you know. He's looking out at my wife. He said, "That your wife?" I mean, yeah, that's my wife. He said, "Oh man, you know, she's my wife, you know." And he says, "What you in here for?" I said, "Assault, but I didn't do it." He says, "Oh, you'll beat this." I get up in front of the judge, and she tells me my whole life, my businesses, what I do, where I go, and then somehow she made it sound bad. And my wife's just bawling. And one of my best friends who works with me every day, another carpenter, is just like, we've been here for 7 hours watching all these criminals and drug dealers walk out on a signature, and they told me my bond was $20,000. And when I was in the jail, when I told them, you know, we're gonna have to wait on the cameras, I told my wife, just wait, they threatened to take my liquor license away, okay? So that started the ball rolling with them messing with hardness, okay? And this woman's in with the state's attorney's office. She wrote up my first day of court. He sent me pictures of his wife, his daughters, and his son, and would text me what a great father he is, while he's shooting dope with 2 hookers up in the apartment for 2 years, okay? She rode up on the elevator and looked at me like the Cheshire Cat. She's about my wife's height, looking at me, not knowing I knew who she was. And when I went into court for my first day of my first court hearing, she went over into the DA's office, the state's attorney's office, okay? Because in the event of the eviction, he had 7 different names he received mail on the mailbox. He's got all these aliases, and he put his son's name on them. And my attorney said, give me all the names that get mail there, and any known occupant, unknown occupants, that's who we evicted. And that's how this all started. He was mad. His son's name was on the eviction, which my lawyer took off once we got to court. But he was so angry, and when I went to trial, he said he had to stay here because I had his son's name in civil court. And of course, my lawyer said, why didn't you just leave?
So you got order of protection. You got took your liquor license. You couldn't even come back here, huh?
Okay, so after we had an event in October, we had a wrestle. He went straight to Cook County Battery Court. Said that I had threatened him multiple times and did everything he did to me, he said I did to him. I couldn't come to my own business, couldn't come within 100 feet of it. And he got an order of protection that as soon as he was evicted, he never went back because it served its purpose, okay? Told me he's gonna keep my building, he's gonna own this when he's done with it. And, you know, that's just crazy. So then, after the order of protection's done, I have 4.5 years, almost 5 years of court because the state's attorney wouldn't allow me to bring 11 witnesses that saw him threatening me, coming at me, telling me he's gonna assault me, kill me, okay? Violate my wife. I got texts. I got 15 or 20 texts of I'm gonna assault you or kill you, violate your wife, ask her how she likes my junk, right? And they wouldn't let any of it in court. So I had to hire Joe Lopez the Shark.
Joe Lopez, one of the best
Okay.
lawyers in Chicago.
I had to hire Joe because when I called a friend of mine who's a state's attorney out in DuPage County, who actually offered to help me out, I said, no, I want this to be legit. Like everybody thinks this court system is honest and legitimate. It's not, okay? This man's ex-wife, baby's mama, and the state's attorney's office are corrupt. Absolutely corrupt. Because all the drugs coming in, all the money coming in is feeding the system. He told me one time, Cook County Courts is a cash station.
Oh, it is.
Okay? And he said the reason you don't see any big bust on Channel 9 with drugs and stacks of money, he said, we keep that. That's how I get by. He said, you can tell by the quality of the hooker that went upstairs. He really said that. You know? So this is the guy that's their poster child of Chicago police. He got fired on like 11 counts for running a woman over with his car. And I read to you
All
some
the
of
reports
the
are there.
crazy stuff.
It's all
he said.
public information,
Okay?
too. All public information.
Then all of a sudden, while I'm fighting in court, now I need probably therapy because for 4.5 years, Joe's going, they really want to put you in jail. I can't believe this. My first normie, he called me a normie wrongfully accused. Okay? And I said, well, that's the system. The people there now are all corrupt. They want to make small business, working class people the victim, and all the criminals are now the victim. Okay? They want to make the criminals the victim and all working class blue collar people the villain. All right? We never have problems here. No gangbangers, no drugs. Even if a guy mistreated a woman, I threw him out. They're done. And here I got this bed bug up in my place that's connected with the city, with the state's attorney's office, and he ran my property and treated it like it was his, and I was a guest. That's what's happening in Chicago.
And then ultimately, they took your liquor license away. They audited you, and you couldn't survive. They had to shut down Harvey Liquors ultimately, right?
I shut down because we had a flood, COVID came. My wife and I got really sick. They said, we're gonna do a virtual audit. I said, oh, is that like a virtual pregnancy? I said, how are you gonna do a virtual? I filled the paperwork out. I said, I can't possibly do it. If you can't come to the premises, go through the records, you need to send everything. I said, my computer was trashed, and the one downstairs, the flood knocked it out. Okay? She said, oh. And I was always nice. I called her on the phone. I corresponded with her. I said, we're sick. And she would always end her conversation or email with, stay healthy, okay? She stayed in her living room, sat on her laptop. That's where she told me she was. And then she would just make up the numbers. She said, I owe him $150,000 or some ridiculous number for 2 months. And that's just the way it is. So this is the problem. The state it's a gangster move, okay? They go into businesses and say, we're gonna audit you with a virtual audit or estimate, they estimate taxes. And if you're somebody, I go to work every day hammering nails, come here in the afternoon and the evening to make sure everything's right, you have no chance, okay? You have no chance in the state of Illinois. Illinois is done. It's corrupt, okay, from the top down. And I can give you example after example of corruption. I was always on the outside looking at, thank God that I wasn't the guy it was focused on. But eventually the corruption's gonna come for you. So if you think you're okay in Chicago, forget about it. Because now they're out to get you.
So you couldn't open. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you couldn't open up Harvey. You're actually currently trying to get it reopened here in the Pilsen neighborhood, right off 18th Street. And ultimately, in your case, you were found not guilty. You, after losing all that money, lawyer fees, time, your bar, everything that was involved, and the evidence that was palpable. Because look at the text. There's piles, and just all the evidence is right there. This guy was up there cooking up drugs. They got pictures of IVs, text messages that weren't even presented or allowed in court. Yet this man still got found not guilty. Not guilty by a jury trial. Because if it was a bench trial, it probably would have ended.
I would have lost. And you know what Joe Lopez said? He said, listen, most judges there in Cook County are former prosecutors. And the reason I said I don't want a bench trial. Because this guy told me he's going to send me to jail. Okay? A drug addict, methamphetamine addict, who's done nothing but terrible things his whole life, told me he's going to use this system to put me in jail and ruin my business. And he did.
Yeah,
and he did.
He did.
And then just yesterday I had an inspection here, and she comes every year. And we managed to get through it. Of course we passed. We keep everything super clean and super straight. But she's like, why haven't you opened? And I said, because I have the state making a false claim against me. And I'm not going to open and get my hole dug deeper. The problem in Illinois, once they're coming for you because somebody dropped a dime, that's what he did. Dropped a dime. He said, I'm going to drop a dime on you. I got a guy and I got my ex-wife. They call every department to make your life miserable. So whatever you do, whether you're in construction, a bar, a grocery store, a restaurant, they're going to find some rat feces or something. They're going to make something up. The thing that really irritated me is I'm crying with my wife in court as they're trying to put me into jail, is that the 12th district lied and said they tried to contact me. Okay? They gave a court document and said that they tried to contact me, which is a lie. He contacted me the next day and said, that's going nowhere. Okay? They will lie. They will forge documents. They will cover. These bureaucrats all need to go. Just like the politicians that are supporting these people need to go. Because anyone who struggles to keep the mortgage paid, the electric paid, your kid's school paid, we're a victim of the system. And you know what? All these people, like this guy, bragged to me his kid's going to go to Ohio State. His daughter's a 12th district police officer, which right after the incident, I got pulled over 5 times. Okay? Bought my wife a new car and asked my brother if we could register it at his house because this guy's stalking my wife.
Yeah.
His daughter pulled me over, drew her gun. I got an 8-year-old in the back. My wife's sitting there. Till she looked through the window, the windows were dark, said, child, she didn't put her gun back. Like I'm some kind of criminal. She said she couldn't read the plate.
So what can we do? Ultimately the question here is, what can we do to highlight a situation like this and fix this wrongdoing by who? Is it the Chicago police? Is it the court system of Cook County? It's not just this one individual, it's the system. So
The problem we have here is the perfect storm of corruption. The police, just like a drunken guy smashes into my wife's car right in front of the business here where we live, right? Just 4 weeks ago. Call the police. He's drunk, airbags deployed, standing in front of his car for 15, 20 minutes. The police don't come. We're waiting. He gets in the car and drives away, clunking on Pac-Man tires at like 6 miles an hour. 20 minutes later, the police come. They're this big. I says, hey, he's down there turning on, I don't know, it looks like he's turning on. Oh, we can't pursue him. We'll lose our jobs. I said, he's drunk. He's absolutely drunk. My friend had called me, said, I know the guy. He gave me 2 beers when he was getting his brake calipers fixed around the corner by Talia Hall. I said, you gotta be kidding me. He's been driving around the neighborhood drunk all day. So they give me a police report number. And now I know what the Chicago police report should say. Sucks to be you. That's what it should say. Because nothing's going to happen. And they'll tell you, my hands are tied. This is the state, okay? I go down on Saturday, 2 days later. Hey, can I get the report? They're supposed to fill out the accident report. Now we don't make little pictures and drawings or anything. And it's a homeless shelter for all these poor people, souls in the 12th district. They say, no, you got to call major accident. There'll be a detective assigned to it possibly. I said, well, the guy was a drunk driver. He smashed into my car. He busted the axle, destroyed my wife's car, a beautiful car. Oh, well, you don't know if he was a drunk driver. That'd be a violation of his civil rights if we said he was a drunk driver without the evidence. And I said, well, drunk driver or not, he left the scene. Well, maybe that'll get us to send him a letter.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is where we're living,
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, I think if a lawyer looked into this case, there needs to be some repercussions. You need to be compensated for what you went through. You're actually going through therapy. So at the end of the day, if they looked into this, you need to be compensated. A lot of individuals that get found not guilty on their charges. I mean, I went through the system before. I was found not guilty, and I lost time, money, everything, and there was nothing done about it. So ultimately, that's what I'm hoping you see as well. Because the corruption shouldn't affect individuals, business owners, legitimate people, and good people of the community. I hope you get justice. This is going to be called Justice for Steve, who tried
Harvey.
to kill Harvey. Who tried to kill Harvey? Salute.
Thanks.
All right.
Salute, Chuck.